Alright, it is 9:40. I missed this one with DPLS, the morning panic bounce play, but I don't like the way it did it. But in theory, it could have been at this 472 level, right around here. I've said there were like these two big sellers at 471, 472, and somebody just bought them all up, and then the left level two just lifted up. But hey, this was a morning panic bounce play from the 47s to the 49s right now. Best case scenario, maybe it consolidates around VWAP, and then it continues the uptrend, or maybe even try to go green on the day. I did trade it previously on this attempt right here, and I also traded AABB. Let's go over AABB first, which is now at 10.7 by 10.83, which is pretty cool. This one did the thing where it downtrended, it had the bounce, it held around VWAP, and then it continued to make a move towards the upside. I want to be able to ideally sell when it does something like this, or maybe just get better with my selling overall, but I was in at AABB at 932. That was at 10.2 right here. I probably saw a lot of people supporting the bid, and on top of this one is very simple to calculate your size, because if you're in at 10.2, in worst case scenario, you're out at 10 flats. Well, 10.2 to 10 is like two sections, so if you multiply it by, in this case, 4,000 shares, that's an $8 risk level, which is close to a $10 risk level. If I wanted to have traded a perfect $10 risk level, I would have had to have traded 5,000 shares here. So that was the case with that. I was in again at this 1021 level at 932. I was going to cut the trade if it were to have gone right here to the 1010 level. And worst case scenario, I'm out at 1010. And if I'm having a bad day, it breaks 10 and I'm selling in the 9s. So I was in it right here. Not the best morning panic bounce play because it was really early in the day at 9:32. A turnaround. I normally like a turnaround around 9:34, but that's being picky. I saw the price action. I did sell the next minute because I didn't like the way it was trading. I felt kind of uneasy. It was the type of thing where it uptrended right and then it just had a pause. And on top of that, it was already above VWAP, which is always my goal right now, to sell into everything at VWAP, but in the future I want to be able to sell half of my shares when it uptrends at VWAP or right at VWAP, and then hold the other half and risk my entry, or maybe my original risk level depending on how it's trading, so then I could be able to sell the other half ideally at a higher level if it does something like this. So I was out at 10:45, so again I was in right here. In this candle, I got out at 10:45, which is well above VWAP, which is great. And that was a profitable trade there. I think I made, I don't know, like $8 or something like that. I'll go over that one later, but the exact number that I made. I traded DPLS next, which did work out here, but I didn't like the way it did it. But I could have been a part of this. I just probably should have been less scared, because I could have been in at 472 and I had a clear risk level right here, which was the wick. And there was a lot of people supporting it in the 460, so probably should have traded this one. DPLS, I was in at 9:34 a.m., 484. Why? I kind of did this one wrong. It didn't really break past the trend line when I got in, which was my issue right here. I got in at 484 right here. It was still under the trend line, so it could have continued to downtrend, and it did. It tried to follow the trend line all the way down here, but I'm lucky that it didn't just downtrend immediately. It just, held right at the level. It did pierce through here, but as you can see, it didn't really uptrend here. I got out at 9:35, and I was lucky. I got out at the same price right here. I got out at the same price that I bought on this candle. And when it broke under 48 briefly and it started trading around this 478 level, that's when I placed my sell order, because I thought, okay, this thing is not working. I wanted it to hold 48, and in this case, not the risk level, which would have been here, but instead this round number at 48, I just felt uneasy, especially because I got into setup a little early, because it wasn't even after the trend line. And yeah, that's why I took my sell there, and I'm very lucky that I had a sell right at my entry, so I didn't lose anything with this one. But at worst case, I would have been out at 478. That was what my limit price was, and that one was a scratch, and it did turn around here once again. Let's see, maybe it can try to, hold itself together and maybe make a move towards the upside. There's a lot of sellers at 5 cents, but it could try to get there. Yeah, I'll make an update later. That's about it. Just 2 trades. One was a scratch and the other one was profitable. I felt uneasy with the way this one traded, but I mean, hey, it got to 10.8 and my sell is at 10.45, so that's pretty cool. I'll make an update later. Okay, it is 9:54. I just want to record this. This is ideally what I want to be a part of as well. This one was just hard to judge with AABB, but you know, a stock has a morning panic bounce play. It comes back and then it either does, in this case, a higher low off of the panic bottom, or maybe a double bottom or a lower low. This one played off of VWAP and ended up being a higher low. In theory, I could have been in at 10.35, but I didn't. The turnaround was extremely quick with this one, and the volume picked up, and it's all the way at 10.7, which would have been nice. So, yeah, this one could have been very profitable. I traded this one. I felt uneasy about it. I had a sell here. In theory, I could have sold half, and then the other half, you know, maybe in theory, I could have drawn maybe a trend line from this candle to the first uptrending candle. And then I would have gone out, worst case scenario, the other half at 10.6, which would have been much higher than my sell at 10.45, also giving myself a chance to sell it at a higher level if it were to have continued the uptrend. And then the move right here, which I don't mind missing too much because, you know, maybe I think it's going to play off of this level, and then it just keeps downtrending, and now it's a double bottom, right? And I'm in at 10.35, and now it's at 10.21, and then it bounces, and then I don't have the best, you know, sell. Maybe I don't sell profitably if it doesn't bounce that much, or worst case, you know, it becomes a lower low setup. So the turnaround here was quick. I don't mind missing this part. I do want to get better at selling when it comes to morning panic bounce plays. I was sized in a lot better. I was close to my $10 risk level with AABB. And then this one I could have been a part of for sure. It's still trying to do it. It's actually at its strongest right now at 4.95 at the bid. Somebody might hit 5 and maybe it can continue the uptrend. I did think about just trading a speculative 1,000 shares, just a tiny position, to see if it will do it. I didn't do it, but it seems like it could try to actually do it at this point. I don't know if it's going to break this level or even touch it. Right now I had an attempt. It just did it now, but we need a lot of volume to wipe out all of these people here. Let's see if it tries to do it. Very similar to AABB. It has that morning panic bounce play. Uptrends, you sell half at VWAP, and then the other half, ideally, if it uptrends, you know, and breaks a range, which in this case would be 4.95. It did hit 5 cents briefly. And then at this point, you know, with the other half, I'd be trying to maybe sell into the uptrend, or worst case scenario, I sell at my original buy, right, at the 4.72, or maybe VWAP in this case. I hope this makes sense. I'm just trying to explain the morning panic bounce play pattern and the continuation of it. Maybe I would have sold my other half at this point, even if it works, because perhaps I could have drawn a trend line from, I don't know, maybe this candle to this candle, right? And it just pierced under it right now. Yeah. Or maybe something super gradual like this, and just sell whenever this trend line breaks, perhaps. But that's not really at a, you know, a specific point. That's just a general line drawn to maybe, you know, sell at a better price. But we'll see if it does it. I'm gonna guess it can, but it doesn't have to. And I'll make an update later. Alright, it is 10:23 and I want to make an update. As for AABB, it did ultimately make a move from this 10.35 level as high as a 10.78 level, which is nice. It hasn't really done anything since, and at this point I would leave it alone. Sometimes it can do inverse head and shoulders, but this isn't the case with this one today. DPLS did get to 5, but the problem was that there were like a 100k seller, a 200k seller. At I think 502, 503, there was a wall of sellers right at above 5, and that did not, I guess, allow it to work because there was a lot more fear that it was going to downtrend and not continue the uptrend because there were so many sellers. But that is the case with that. I wouldn't really have much of an interest with this one unless it drops significantly, maybe like at the 475 level. And if it's not like too late in the day, I could consider that. Otherwise, this one is done, and I was watching the AMC for a reversal. It did do it ultimately when it broke the 22 level just briefly, and then it came back, and that was the move there. And I might continue to watch this, but at this point it's a bit more speculative, and I liked it because it was playing off of this support level right here, which was resistance previously, the breakout level, and also an attempt to break it here that it didn't even get to. So that was why I had an interest in this one with AMC, just because it was playing off of that support level. Maybe I'll be interested in this turnaround. And as for KG, there was like a big seller at 10.07. I guess 10.7 is what you should call it. And I had an interest, but you know, it just broke out. People bought up the big seller at the ask very quickly, and then it got to 11, which was right at the day high, and then it continued to run. I like how it ran to 11.5, and then it came back right here to the original breakout level, and then it continued the uptrend, so that was like a confirmation. And yeah, that's about it. In theory, I could have traded KG at 10.07. In theory, I could have traded AABB for this turnaround right here. I could have sold better on the trade I did take, and for DPLS, I could have traded this level right here. I feel like I could have made 3 times as much as I did today if I traded everything perfectly. But yeah, I'll make an update later, and no one's perfect, but definitely I see all the things that I can improve, and I'll make an update later. I still have an interest with AMC. Hey, I want to record that trade I'm currently in right now. I'm not really in with as much shares as I wanted to because I don't have enough of money in this account, because I am moving money around to pay my taxes. It's already piercing through the line, but it's still trying to follow it. So I'm like an exception, and then maybe do a trend line off of this candle with this one right here. It's not exact science. It's kind of hard to draw a trend line when it's not necessarily you know, easy when you're so close to the level. But at this point, I'm going to sell this trade as soon as the trend line breaks. I hope this thing is, yeah, it looks like it should be working. I will also consider selling if it gets to VWAP, which doesn't really happen too often, but I have the finger on the keyboard ready to sell. I already sold half of my position, but if this thing breaks the trend line right here, the uptrending trend line, which in this point is going to be at 22.19-ish, if it pierces under it, I will be getting out of the trade. Best case scenario, of course, it keeps following it and I sell at a really nice level. Yeah, I wish I had 20 shares here, but I wasn't able to. I traded 10 shares. And this is essentially like a double bottom off of that previous support level, like I mentioned in the other video. I like using trend lines because it gets the emotion out of this. It doesn't, you know, I'm not freaking out. Oh, is it topping right here? Is it just about to break out further? Is it going to fail? I'm just waiting for it to pierce under the trend line, and that's when I get out. And sometimes if it dips a little bit below it, I'll still hold on to it, but I have to really judge. That's something I judge on a, you know, time to time basis. It might break under the trend line the next minute, not this minute. Let's see how it closes. We just have 12 seconds, 10 seconds left. Alright, I'm out the trade. It broke under the trend line. Obviously, it can continue the support, maybe this 2220 level, and then do a nice breakout and, you know, continue to make a move towards the upside. But that was my sell there. And to go over it, I was long 10 shares at 1034, which was right here, and my price was at 21.99.5. So let's just say 22. I was in at 22 right here at 1034. I did trade it previously right here, and this one did not work out. I lost 70 pennies with this trade. Let's go over this one actually first. So I saw this uptrend. I drew a trend line from here to the wick here, and it looked like it was following it. And again, it was playing off of that 22 level that I mentioned in that other recording. And when it had that dip right here and it was holding it, it looked like it was going to play off of it. So I thought, okay, you know, why not be long here at 1058? It's not 1058, 1028 at 2216 is when I ended up being right here. You know, thinking that it's going to play off of the trend line, and if it breaks under it, I get out. And that's exactly what happened at 1029. It broke, as you can see, under the trend line, and I got out at 2212, and I lost just a little bit, 70 pennies. And worst case scenario, I would have had to have cut the trade at, I believe, 22 flat, and I would have lost $5 because I have a $5 risk level with listed stocks at the moment. And then this trade here, I traded less because I just don't have the cash in this account right now to trade it with the right amount of shares, which is fine. But I did trade 10 shares. I bought again at this 22 level at 1034 because it continued to downtrend, and then it now looked like a double bottom, right? So I thought, okay, very easy for me to be in at 1034. Worst case scenario, you know, I cut the trade if it breaks under this you know, day low level, and that would have been a very easy you know, risk reward. And again, I didn't trade the right amount of shares because I didn't have enough cash in this cash account, so that was the case with that. And I sold 5 shares just to be a little more patient. At the same minute when it started to turn around, it seems like at yeah, 1034, I sold 5 shares at 2213, which was near the top. You know, just in case that, okay, you know, I'm in, oh, it uptrended, and then, you know, it just sells off and breaks the day low. At least I sold half of my position while it was still at its highs, and then, you know, maybe I won't be out for a loss. And if it continues to uptrend like it did here, sure, okay, well, that means I didn't sell everything near the highs, but at least I gave myself patience to hold on to the trade, knowing that I already locked in half of my position, and that, you know, if it's uptrending and then, you know, I sell at the highs, that's fine. But again, if it fails all of a sudden, maybe a big red candle, at least I was able to do something like that. And that's when I saw the last 5 shares right here. I just went over it in the video. Right when it broke the trend line right here, I got out at 22.24, and that was the case there. This could be an inverse head and shoulder. Shoulder, head, shoulder. Unfortunately, I don't think I have enough cash anymore. This isn't, I didn't make $300 today. This was me because I sent money from my checking account to my day trading account here. This is the thing to have into consideration, how much settled cash I have. So it could be an inverse head and shoulders here. I might consider it, but I also want to make sure I have cash available to trade tomorrow. Maybe I'll just move more money to my day trading account, and I made I guess with the second trade in AMC, I made just under $2. I traded a $200 position. In theory, I would have been happier if I traded that, you know, $4 not $4 but $400 position, but that's fine. Let's see if this does an inverse head and shoulders. I might consider a trade here, but I might only trade 5 shares because I don't have that much cash available in my account to trade. So yeah, I'll make an update later, but this could be an inverse head and shoulders. And VWAP is no longer downtrending significantly. It is trying to maybe stay at a certain level, but I don't mind if I miss this one. It is 10:55 a.m. and I want to make an update with AMC. This ended up being the inverse head and shoulder, shoulder, head, shoulder, and it was a nice move from the 2220s. It got as high as the 2240s. It didn't get to VWAP until it broke the trend line, which was, I think it was the wick here to the wick on the second candle, or maybe the corner. It might have been the same level here, the wick of the second candle here, or the corner, but it did break it eventually. And you know, this could be the inverse head and shoulder second higher low. So shoulder, head, shoulder, and then this is a higher low, the second higher low, the first one here, the second one here from the bottom. But yeah, that was cool, and I got to VWAP. Not exactly at VWAP, but right under it. And maybe you can try to, you know, continue the uptrend throughout the day. But I think that was a pretty good trade. And the only reason, again, I traded something like this is because it was playing off of this level right here. If it was just some random, you know, level that it's trading on the chart, I don't think I would have traded that. And yeah, that was the case there. I just wish I had more cash when I traded this one here, that this one right here that worked, but that was the case with that. It's nice it got to the level here, and maybe later I can try to make a move towards VWAP and actually get past it. That's about it. I don't see anything else that I would want to trade, so I might call it off because I just don't see anything else that I want to trade. Maybe if it breaks this level here, you know, playing off of the highs here, that would be interesting, but that might be a little crazy. Besides that, I don't see anything else that I want to trade. Okay, it is 8:28 and I'm here to call it off. Overall, I believe I am up $10.80. And that was having 4 trades with AABB. I traded DPLS and I traded AMC twice. As for DPLS, what I ended up doing is actually eventually break the 5-cent level. But as you can see, the way it did it was really ugly. It broke out of it with a wide spread, and then it started to catch itself, so it wasn't really much of a setup. Pretty cool to see KG uptrend over these past few days, and this could be a morning panic bounce play potential. PUGE had a very big first green day, and I'll be watching this to see if it can continue to develop and maybe uptrend for more than one day. And then if it uptrends enough days, that can also be something to consider for a morning panic bounce play. And as for AABB, I didn't see this. It actually did do a breakout later in the day, but this was kind of, you know, sketchy. I don't really like to mess with it later in the afternoon, and it also had a big spread right here, so not really the best. And as for AMC, it did do a really nice move. The inverse head and shoulders did work out here, and it did get to VWAP. It got above it too. Super nice. And then it had like a drop right here. This would have been kind of sketchy to trade, but I like how it did drop here and then it turned around. At this point right here, it probably would have been just randomness for me, but I really like how it did the inverse head and shoulders, a shoulder, head, shoulder, and then the second higher low, and then the next higher low, and then it got to VWAP. Plenty of potential. Maybe I should have actually traded on my Fidelity account because I had a lot more cash available, but I just like to separate brokers and trade on Fidelity, my OTC setups, and then Schwab, my listed stock setups. And I haven't really been trading listed stock setups recently, so I didn't have a lot of money on that account anyway, but I should try to move things around so I can have a lot more money on that account. And again, only because it dropped to this pretty significant support level is why I considered it. It actually even shows the inverse head and shoulders here, shoulder, head, and then the shoulder. Maybe this thing can continue the uptrend, but I'll probably leave it alone unless it does something super clean. This was clean enough, and I traded it a few times. There were plenty of things that I could have done better. There were plenty of things that I could have traded, which would have been nice, but that's totally fine. Like KG was a nice high-day breakout that I could have been a part of. That's all I have for today. I look forward to watching this and reviewing it. And if anybody here has a question, you're welcome to leave a comment below, and I'll try to get back, or any comments. That's all I have for this day, and yeah, pretty good overall. But I do wish I had more size on some of the setups.